so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life. Sometimes you gotta do that. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now.
As alleged in the indictment, to carry out this conduct, Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy that used the business empire he controlled to carry out criminal activity.
Now for what's trending in true crime as testimony continues in the sex trafficking trial from music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. More celebrities who are associated with the artist and his label are being called as case witnesses. The former bad boy artist Dawn Richard spent the last 2 days on the stand recounting her experiences during her time with the music groups Diddy Dirty Money and Danity Kane. Another former member of the group Danity Kane, Aubrey O'Day, has been very vocal about alleged mistreatment from Diddy for years. She was seen in New York City last week, which of course sparked some conversations that she may be called as a witness. Here's what she told Amy Robach and TJ Holmes on their podcast.
First of all, are you here to testify in the Diddy trial?
No, I'm not here to testify for the Diddy trial that I know of.
Hey, well, you know what? Was that ever something that came up or consideration? Did you ever get a call? Any lawyer? Did you even stand by and maybe even think you might be called?
I was contacted by Homeland Security, and I did have a meeting with Homeland Security.
So our question this morning for our power panel, why isn't Aubrey O'Day being called as a witness? Let's bring in our guest. Still with me, attorney Randolph Rice. I want to welcome in a writer and the host of the podcast No Filter with Zack Peter. Zack Peter, good morning to you both. All right, so let's start with Aubrey O'Day. So many of us were anticipating her testimony, and it's been a little bit of a letdown that she's not going to be called, at least as far as she knows. Zack Peter, what's going on with that, please?
I think aside from Cassie, more than Dawn, we were expecting to see Aubrey. Aubrey's been so vocal and arguably, you know, the bigger star here when it comes to a lot of the breakout stars from Danity Kane. So I think a lot of people were shocked. I think even Aubrey seemed kind of shocked in that podcast interview. But I mean, it just goes to show that maybe she doesn't have as powerful testimony as she's alluded to over the years.
Yeah, that's a great point. We know that Homeland Security did interview her, and Randolph, you were a prosecutor. One would think that if she had something that could advance the case and prove the charges at issue, that they would use her, right?
Absolutely, Julie. And it appears from the statement that she's made in the past is that she would be providing what's called hearsay in the courtroom. And, you know, we all know hearsay is not going to come in. So she would be testifying to probably what other people told her. So why not have the government just have those other people come into court and testify instead of what she heard those other people told her? It just makes more sense for the government's case.
Sure. Randolph, thank you. Let's take a listen to a clip from Amy Robach and TJ Holmes' podcast where Aubrey O'Day's on there talking about how she and other artists have some sympathy for Diddy at times, and at other times see him as a monster.
You know, I talk to everybody most of the nights, and it's triggering everybody in different ways. It is a whirlwind. We go up, we go down. Some days we have sympathy for Puff. Some days we feel that he's an absolute monster, and we say all kinds of things that I cannot repeat.
Oh my, yeah, she's been very vocal for years, as we know. Zack Peter, in Hollywood, where you are, what's the temperature among trial watchers with Diddy? Is there some sympathy? Is there a feeling that this is overcharged, or is there any kind of sign of relief, like finally something is being done after there have been complaints of abuse that we know have come up years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's hopeful that there's some justice that's done here, especially now that we're getting vindication for Cassie. And we've heard about the things that have been, you know, done to Cassie for years. We saw the videotape that got leaked. And so I think people want justice, but I also feel like at the same time, there's a lot of trepidation. And even from what I've been keeping up with the trial, I'm also, you know, just seeing how good the defense is doing with cross-examination. I'm even a little worried that maybe, you know, he may get out on this. And I guess we're just gonna have to wait to see it play out. But I'm not fully confident that they're gonna be able to get him, as much as I do personally see him as a monster and hope that we get justice at the end of the day.
Zack, I love that point. So well said. And Randolph, let me bounce this off of you. I was having a talk with my show producer, Jabari Jackson, just moments before we went on air. And I said, you know, that's the thing about Diddy's case. If I was in private practice, I would take it. I would feel confident if I'm on the defense side because it's very imperfect and tricky. But yet, I also believe that the government can prove this and that they have the facts and the evidence on their side. Really, I think it's going to come largely down to the lawyering. What do you think, Randolph?
Well, typically when the federal government charges somebody, they usually have a pretty airtight case. And so this is something they've certainly thought out long before the trial started as to how they're going to prove this case. They don't like to go into cases where they feel like this is weak, but it is also a good case for the lawyers to sort of shine and show their best skills and sort of out-lawyer each other and possibly, like you said, get that not guilty for Diddy based on the not being able to prove the state's case.
Right, Randolph. Really anybody's case, as you and Zach know. Let's turn to another aspect of this. This was interesting, really caught our attention when we had our Kelly Craft on Court TV Live in the morning. And one of the things that came out before they started court was the judge kind of gave a warning to prosecutors, saying that he had some concern about the testimony that had been shared. He said, quote, testimony that relies on hearsay strikes me as a case built on gossip. And Kelly described it as somewhat of a warning to prosecutors that we can't have a trial built on gossip, and we better have direct testimony coming from your witnesses to what you're alleging happened. Lawyers representing Diddy responded in part saying, quote, I think this is becoming sort of a bad act free for all. So that makes us wonder what Diddy gossip could be coming in as evidence. Okay, this is an interesting question. Zack Peter, want to take a crack at it? What do you think, please?
I mean, I think this also talks about or speaks to why Aubrey O'Day wasn't put on the stand. I think, you know, rather than putting more high-profile celebs on the stand to speak about Diddy, I think they want to focus more on proving the alleged crimes rather than, you know, a lot of the speculation or a lot of the hearsay that I think a witness like Aubrey O'Day would be able to bring to the table, especially considering she hasn't been in Diddy's life for a very long time.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think you're hitting the nail on the head in so much as we know there may be people who have an axe to grind with Diddy and have bad behaviors they would love to point out, but if it's not germane to the case at hand and not relevant in advancing the proof that the government must put forth, they've got the burden, then it really shouldn't be coming in. Randolph, tell me, if you're those prosecutors, ouch, getting that from the judge, ouch, what would you be thinking hearing the court say that to you?
Well, I think we need to give Zach a temporary law degree because he really hit the nail on the head with his analysis of, you know, that's why they didn't bring Miss O'Day in there. But this goes to really the defense attorneys and the prosecutors, I guess, reluctance to object. That's why the rules of evidence are there. You need to object if you think this is hearsay. And so maybe the judge was signaling to them like, hey, guys, get engaged. Object when there's hearsay. This is not going to be a gossip trial. This is going to be a trial based on facts.
Oh, I love that analysis, Randolph. Yes, because judges sometimes do send signals. You know, those, well, you know, perhaps there's an objection here, counselor, you know, like wake up, stand up, object to this. I'm going to rule in your favor and sustain it. So, yeah, perhaps that's what His Honor is doing. We will have more live reporting throughout the day as our team is there inside and outside of the courthouse with this big case that the world is watching. A big thanks to our friend Zack Peter for coming back on the show. Zach, would love to have you back again sometime soon. Take care.